Ooh, what's going on, BBL fans? It's your boy Thriller here, back with another BBL Pickems this week. We are here doing the Pickems for week number 9, the very last week of the regular season before the big playoff picture is put into place. Now, pretty much essentially, most, if not all, these games pretty much are all locked in. There's only going to be a few coaches that we're going to really talk about the matchups wise and kind of go in from there. But if you guys are excited, leave a like if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. Enjoy the crew today because we throw it with the king of the crew. And with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about these games. So this might be the shortest one of the bunch for the games we talk about because there's gonna be some games that don't matter, so we're not gonna really talk too much about it, but we'll kind of just run them down real quick. And there's gonna be two games in particular we will talk about because they do involve a few of the coaches. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about this matchup. First, we have Ant versus John. Now, this battle, I pretty much do believe it does not matter in terms of seeding. I'm pretty sure, based off of the fact that John's differential is good with 5 wins that he got from last week when he took on Shimp, he should most likely 100% be locked into playoffs. And if anything, he can just play for differential against Ant this week, if anything. So, and he promised Terra Grottle. If we don't see a Terra Grottle, flame him in the comments section of this video and his own video when he uploads it, and on his team builder if he doesn't see it in the battle. But we'll talk about the matchup a little bit here because we might as well discuss what could have been like the scenarios here. But Ant's team is Calyrex Ice Rider, Valerian Slowking, Miascarata, Scizor, Walking Weight, Donphan, Basque Legion Female, Quillfish, Munchlax, and Galarian Moltres with Terra on the Walking Weight. And I think also kind of talk about these teams a little bit and where maybe things could have went in a way that they wanted to versus how they wanted. So like with Ant's team, for example, I really think he had a really rough time. I mean, he got these 5 kills with Calyrex, which is good, but I feel like Ant really didn't shine with Calyrex as much as he really wanted to. And I think Ant had some good pieces. Like some of the transactions he made, I felt like were really better for his team. But I think just overall, I just think maybe he should have had another Trick Room option besides Calyrex itself. And he shouldn't have been relying on Galarian Slowking to be chilly reception essentially all week. Sorry for the hiccups. So there's a lot of factors into this game for his team, but overall, I think Ian has played his team well. I think he's just run into some tough matchups. He has also gotten probably a little unlucky in some weeks as well. And just overall, I mean, Ant's been pretty good. He's gonna finish out the season strong. I know he is, and he's just gonna get ready for the next season. He does what everybody does. So he's gonna be taking on John Jr., my boy, my bro, with the Ho-Oh, Kieran Black, Goldengo, Iron Boulder, Terra Iron Boulder specific, the Grimmsnarl, the Toadscroll, the Galarian Weezing, Azul, Swampert, and Grottle. So, what do we have going on for this week, you may ask? So, we're going to break this down here for you. John's team, since John's going to be most likely making the playoffs, we can talk about his team in the season. I think John really used this team effectively well. I think he played this team really, really well. And I also want to really mention this right now to a lot of people. You may see the fact that these were Pokemon that the week nines were played, it doesn't mean that these are the wins and losses, obviously. It just means that these mons did show. So first off, he brought Colorado. Let's go. And he brought Azal finally. But anyways, John's team, I think John had a really good season. The only problem I saw with John's team this season is that he pretty much relied insanely heavily on his first six. Like his first six were 100% the main six he wanted to go. Obviously, he fit in a little bit more Swampert towards later season, and he fed in the Galarian Weezing every once in a while. But I think the biggest problem with John's draft this season was that he was really relying on his main six to be being brought every single week. So definitely a bit of an issue there, but it is going to be really interesting to see how John does the rest of the season, though. I do think his top six can still be a really good one, and I definitely think he can fit in things like Galarian Weezing and the Swampert. And god damn it, John, Azelf is good. Freaking use that Pokemon more. Anyways, looking at this matchup, I'm not going to talk too much more, but if I had to look at this rare, Terra Walking Weight is obviously a monster to deal with for John here to deal with offensively. Calyrex Ice is honestly not that much of a threat towards John. but it's still a big enough threat that you have to respect it. Galarian Slowking is obviously a really annoying pivot for this matchup, but the main thing about this is definitely going to cause no chilly reception from the Glowking, as it is going to give a defense buff to the Kyurem, and if Ant's smart, he doesn't do that. Meowscarada also looks pretty good here. I can see something like a nasty plot variant of Meowscarada or something like mixed with low kick is really good as well. And just overall, just a really good matchup here. I think Basically Javima, once again, has a really good matchup into almost every single team out there. It definitely hurts a lot of teams. And I think that was one of the best Pokemon that the Ant really did draft. And I really think he should have made that thing a little bit more broken in some weeks. But he definitely made use of it. So overall, really good matchup from Ant's side. In terms of John's side here, Boulder go crazy. Boulder goes absolutely nuts. The only switches to Boulder that you realistically have on your team is Scizor to a degree and a Dawn fan. Everything else just dies. Kieran Black also has a monsters of Pokemon this week. I think Kieran Black, though, is going to be a little rough to fit this week. But he can definitely still show up as the Walking Wake. Pressure it offensively. The Scissor pressures it offensively as well. I do think Goldengo is pretty good in this matchup. Goldengo actually can hard roll a lot of Pokemon on Ant's side here, which I think is important to know. So, but overall, I think this is also a pretty good matchup for John. I think both ways go with it. If I had to pick who I wanted to say won this week, I'm going to probably go ahead and say, oh, you know what? Just because John has Terra Grottle, I'm picking John. I'm picking John just because of Terra Grottle. I don't care if this is in a screw over my win loss ratio of the season, which I might go over with the normal season versus the um, playoffs, and then count the playoffs within in total. So, but yeah, so I'm going with Joe with this one. Up next, we got Joey Pokemon B taking on CB Marcus. And this is actually going to be a really cool matchup here, as Joey has to take on Sand with two dragons, which is going to be pretty insane. Joey's team is Mewtwo, Zarude with Terra, Enamorus, Gliscor, Iron Crown, Primarina, Gouging Fire, Smeargle, Avalugg, and Vileplume in this week. Joey's team overall, I think Joey definitely had drafted a really solid team. I think there were some Pokemon though that I know Joey's probably a little disappointed in. Like I definitely know for a fact he's disappointed in things like Enamorus. And he's probably a small bit disappointed in Gouging Fire, but he's not like he was crazy disappointed with Gouging Fire, you know what I mean? Also, I feel like that Doc's wrong. I feel like Smeargle was. Oh, wait, I'm thinking of a different game, maybe. No, I feel like Smeargle was brought twice. Or was it the one time against Nexus? I don't know. Avalugg, shouts to Avalugg, 6 kills, brought to 3 games, and was viably used. And shouts to Vileplume. Vileplume. Do you think the fact that Mewtwo actually did not get a lot more kills this season was kind of shocking? But when you have a Terra Zarude, and that's one of the best freaking Terra captains in the game, that's your main Terra captain of choice, essentially. He's gonna steal the show. He's gonna steal the show, 100%. Joey definitely used Gliscor very well this season. I think this was some of the best showcase from Gliscor I've ever seen without Terra. Iron Crown really performed well. 5 games with 7 kills is actually relatively impressive, which was good. Primarina felt like maybe it was a little lackluster for Joey, but I think it still did really well. And overall, Joey's season has been really good. He's even said in videos that he's kind of thrown some games. He also made some wrong 50-50s. And that's just Pokemon sometimes. Joey can still make the playoffs with good diff, so it didn't really matter. And also, Joey's just here to have some fun. Joey's like he can win another league if he wants to, but he's here to have some fun, really get some people motivated, and hopefully support the people out there as well, which I always love Joey doing. So he is going to be taking on CB Marcus, as I did mention, and CB Marcus's team is going to be the Palkia, Dragapult, Zapdos, Excadrill, Tentacruel, Tyranitar, Moltres, Rabombe, Hisuian Voltorb. He should have a gameplay. He died in a game. Take that, please. We have a Mian Shao. So CB Marcus, really rough season for him. I believe he is 2-6 in the season. Really, really unfortunate season for CB Marcus, and I think a lot of it had to do to hacks and RNG, and also just one week he just got mini or that's on him. That's on him for getting mini or so which he was totally fine with the roast, by the way, guys. He literally he's fine with the roast. But I really think Stevie Marks' team really came together when he made the transactions. I think the transactions were something that he probably should have had on beginning with on this team. But he really got into his own with this team after the transaction. I think he really performed well. besides Roar on a Moltres. How does this thing learn Roar? It's a bird. It squawks. Sorry, that's the only thing that still triggers me about this Marcus. I still love you though. Anyways, looking at this matchup from CB's side, Mewtwo is actually not really that big of a threat, but it's still respectable enough of a threat as it does outspeed everything that Marcus does have. Even the Dragon Bolt, which is pretty scary. I believe it does. I don't want to be stupid, but I think it does. But I do think the Terra Zarude, this would be really interesting to see what Terra Zarude is going to be. Because I can see a couple of types. I think Dark actually still makes a viable sense, even though there is Rabombi. But I also don't hate the idea of potentially ground, fairy, water, grass. There's a couple of interesting typings I do think Joey can take advantage of. I also don't hate steel, flying. Just a lot of cool options. I can even see Rock if he's that desperate enough to get to take out the Zapdos and to get the split def boost. And say, wait, Joey, listen to the ideas. Listen to the ideas. but Joey's matchup though with also Iron Crown is also really good. Gouging Fire is really tough to bring here this week because I don't really think it matches up well. I actually think you bring Avalok. Funny enough, Avalok actually kind of low key kind of does some work in this game, which actually kind of surprises me. But it's overall a really good mon. But also looking at CB Marks' team, I think his Ubers definitely underperformed a little bit than what he really wanted. Zapdos really performed well. Drill with the sand, the combo did really well. I would have expected a little bit more kills because that's my boy Drill. Tentacruel, he's just Tentacruel. Moltres, honestly, decent performance. Rabombi, I'm sorry, you need Terra to be a little bit more better, my friend. Voltorb, you know what? Best cheerleader on Draft League. And in Mienshao, he was a Mienshao. But looking at it from Joey's side, like I said, sand is actually a big problem for Joey. I think with drill, you go with the lines of potentially like water, maybe grass, maybe steel, maybe ground, or even fire. I think you have a good option of typings to really go into this matchup to take on things that Joey has. I do think TTR is being brought this week as to be with sand. I also think you bring both your Ubers. Both your Ubers are insanely well, but I do think you force one over the other. And the reason why I say that is that Enamorus is actually a massive threat versus Stevie Marcus. Besides the fact that he has only like one good check to it, this Enamorus can kind of go crazy. If it gets rock coverage move, which I don't know if it does or not, Moltres go bye bye. Gliscor I definitely think comes because I don't think Marcus is bringing any removal. The Tentacruel would make sense to be brought, but I don't know 100% if Marcus is going to 100% lock that in. I wouldn't be surprised to see him do it, but I also would not. So in terms of the matchup, I am going to give it to CB Marcus, though. CB Marcus, I felt like performs better in this matchup than Joey does. So, and again, CB Marcus can't make playoffs. Joey, if he loses, I think is still locked for playoffs with 5 wins. But if anything, Joey is going to be most likely between the 6 and 8 seed at the lowest. I would say him that. So, up next, we got Keegan taking on OG Albino. Now, you notice we're skipping these two. These are the two we're going to talk about here later on, but I'm going to save that for last. We got Keegan taking on my man OG Albina. We've got, for Keegan's side here, we have Lunala, Greninja, Terra King, Gambit, Florges, Blastoise, Infernape, Bronzong, the Dunsparce, Houndstone, Mudsdale, and Swalot. And as you can see, Swalot was never brought. Swalot is bad. And you probably should never have drafted it for your Ubers. Just in a Ubers league, just so. Anyways, from Keegan's team perspective this year, I think Lunel has done decent. I think maybe there were some weeks that Keegan probably could have maybe performed a little bit better with Lunala, but again, certain weeks were really tough for Lunala to be brought. Greninja has performed relatively well. I think in a format where you can either change your typing or potentially put yourself in a win position is really good. Terra King Gambit, man, after using it myself, Keegan saw the light where this mon is absolutely dummy busted, broken, and it probably should not be allowed in Terra. This Pokemon is insanely good. I absolutely love it. Florges, decent job that it's season. Blastoise, really sad Blastoise never found a week to get a Shell Smash off. Just a Pokemon that I think really could have benefited from a Shell Smash sweep in one week. But obviously, Keegan had to really rely on his roaming removal this season, which was really good, really hard. Infernape, massive downplay of Infernape this season, which I'm really sad to see. But I think in a format like this, Infernape is a little hard to use. It's still a decent enough Pokemon, and I do want to try it myself, but I think he just didn't get a chance to use it as well. Bronzong, he just didn't do anything. The Dunsparce, he had a shot. He did no good. Houndstone did nothing. Mudsdale did nothing. So Keegan's pretty much top four, maybe five, and then slip in either maybe Infernape or the Dunce Bars, and that's your team for the season. So I do think Keegan's team was still pretty good, though. It was still relatively a good set of teams, and let's see if he can try to win because he needs to win. Keegan has to win to make playoffs. If Keegan loses, well, guess what? He's out because his differential, I believe, is only at like 0 or like -2. I think last time I checked. So if Keegan loses, he's 100% out. Owen, on the other hand, has already locked in a playoff spot. It doesn't need to win this game. But if you guys remember what Owen was going to say in the battle versus Nexus, he is not going to throw this game. He is not going to choke away a game like this because, for one, that'd be stupid to do that. And two, Owen would probably like the opportunity to pick his own opponent because they are doing the system for this season where they will be picking their handmade opponents going into the season. So, going to the playoffs. Owen's team is the Yaga Flurry Mew Kukudele Ogerpon, Quarterstone, Quacklevolt, Wheezing, Shaman, Rotom and Sableye. Do you think the Shaman and Wheezing pickup, no, Shaman and Wheezing, the Shaman, god damn it, the Wheezing and Sableye pickups were really good value from Owen as we see a decent showing from defensive Pokemon like Wheezing and Sableye, even though brought to one game, did a lot of good work for the value it was brought into the game for. Shaman, wow, lackluster. Rotom also kind of lackluster, but he kind of did his job in some weeks that he needed to do. Quackavole, a little bit of an underperformance in my opinion. I definitely think Quackavole was kind of put more into kind of defensive roles versus an offensive role, what it really likes to do. But it still did a decent job. Ogerpon Quarterstone definitely did some good work this season for Owen. Definitely was a really strong Mon. Crocodile, that's my guy. He really did some good work this season for Owen. And then shoutouts to pretty much Owen's top three. Owen's top three have done some amazing work. Now, it doesn't really show it for Fluttermane, but Fluttermane had some potential for some games to really shine. But unfortunately, just games played out the way they did. And Fluttermane couldn't pop off as much. Mew came in the clutch for Owen against Nexus, and then the Dialga that came really good in the early half of the season for Owen as well. I think overall Owen drafted really solid. His top two are so insanely broken, and in the top three are just so fraught every single week that you can't counteract that. But speaking of the top three, what stops the top three again? This time around, I do think he will against Keegan. He's going to be well. I guess I look at this from Keegan's side. Lunala is kind of scary. Lunala is very terrifying to deal with. I think a Scarf Lunala is 100% going to be the bring of choice this matchup. So Owen's going to be on the lookout for that. King Gambit. I really don't know what King Gambit we're going to see this week. I could see Fire. I could see Normal. I could see Steel. I could see Dark. There's a lot of various options here. Greninja, definitely think Greninja is a very solid bring this week. Infernape is actually kind of low-key scary this week. This is definitely going to be one of those Infernape matchups that can really put the back burner on Owen if he is not careful. Blastoise, unironically, if it was Shell Smash and physical or like mixed, it kind of just cooks Owen a little bit, not gonna lie. It kind of body bags him a bit. So there is that. The Florges is a really annoying mon to deal with as Dialga can't really fully break it. But if he goes Spadef, oh, he's never breaking that Pokemon. I mean, he might become a 3-shot with it, but if it starts Calm Minding and those health back up, ooh, it's looking bad. Otherwise, I don't really see anything major threatening from Keegan's side that really scares Owen here. Whereas we look at from Owen's side, Dialga is pretty threatening as it really offensively pressures a lot of things. Fluttermane just clicks a button and just claims a KO. Terra Mew could be literally anything here. I do like kind of more of a mixed defensive variant with setup potentially. The Ogerpon Quarterstone could see it brought. I wouldn't be surprised not to see it being brought because of the fear of Infernape. Crocodile we don't know if you bring Crook this match, so I don't think it's that good of a Crook game. But I don't hate the option of having Crook. Wheezing could be really interesting this week, as Wheezing could be a really annoying wall for a couple of Pokemon. Quackavolt is pretty solid. I don't think it's that 100% A grade Mon this matchup, but it's pretty solid for what it can do in the matchup itself. And Rotom, it's pretty alright, and I don't think there's anything that's too groundbreaking or too crazy for me here. In terms of who I'm going to pick here, I am going to pick my main man, Owen. I just think Owen's top three are just so good into Keegan, and I think they just match up really well. And like I said, I am kind of speeding through these kind of pick'ems this week as they kind of don't matter for most of them. Like I said, the one with Owen and Owen Nexus, Owen and Keegan, this one matters, so we kind of went a little bit into depth for this one, but I'm not going to go too crazy in depth this week. as is the final weekend, which, like I said, majority of these games pretty much do not matter. There's only one, two, three. I think only four of these battles mattered. I think only four of these battles mattered, and one of them we're gonna have to talk about here in a second later. And then this is number two. This is not number three. We have here Dell versus Nexus, which I'm actually kind of looking forward to this matchup. I feel like this is gonna be one of those kind of like you kind of just want to see how it goes type of matchup thing. So I'm really excited for that. We've got the Solgaleo, Urshifu Single Strike, Lando T, Ogre Pon Teal, Witch Kintera, Latias, Heatran, Diancie, Cincino, Dondozo, and Wug Trio. And let's be honest here, guys. Dell really kind of he kind of Dell got unlucky. Like I think he got unlucky week one. I think he did at least. I don't remember off the top of my head if he did or not. Week two, probably arguably he should have won. Like week two, he probably should have won. And yeah, Dell has also just gotten mad unlucky in some games. He has just also not been able to really get behind a track of good win streaks and stuff like that for him. It's just hard seeing him just go through because he's such a good guy. I absolutely love Dell. He's my homie. He's my bro. And he's going to regionals in Vancouver, so go check him out at Vancouver Regionals. But Dell's team, I just I really wish he had just gotten more better options to begin with. Like we look at some of the new mons he adds to the team, like he adds in Ogerpon, Latias, Heatran, Diancie, Cincino, and Cincino has done nothing. Diancie has done nothing. Latias has done nothing. Ogerpon, Heatran, really good performance values out of those transactions. And what Dondozo, Dondozo, and then there's a Wug Trio, which, you know what? The fact that he brought Wug Trio versus Joey and almost beat Joey with Wug Trio on his team, that gets an S tier class right there. But yeah, his team is pretty neat, so it could have been a little bit better towards the start of the draft if he could have done if he could. Nexus, my goat, my Kakashi, Kakashi. If you guys get the reference from that, then you're awesome. If you don't, please watch anime. But we've got Magirna, Kralsma, Dawnwings, Ting Lu, Salamence, Sneasler, Uxie, Minivy, Monk, and Abomasnow. Abomasnow, you know what? He came to more games than I thought he would, so he at least got decent value out of this, which is not terrible. Poor Muck never got a shot, man. Manaphy, really big underperformance value, in my opinion. Uxie, even though I did not do as good Jordan numbers as I think Nexus wanted to, I think its defensive viability was really good. Sneezer for a mid-season trade or pickup essentially did not get a good fast traction going, which is unfortunate. Terra Ments, man, that thing was a monster, dude, and it's definitely gonna be on my bucket list of Pokemon I want to Terra with and see if I can get some steam rolling going like he did. So absolutely peak gameplay of Salamence this week. Ting very well done by Nexus this season. I think he used Ting relatively well every single week. He definitely got some really good value of a defensive Pokemon. But across with Dawnwings, for a mid-season pickup after dropping the horse, it did do well for him. It gave him good numbers, some good success rate with it. And overall, it's still not that great of an Uber, but I think Nexus performed very well with it. And Magirno ends on the best number ever, 96, because that's my number. But I think Magirna probably could have shined in a lot more weeks and had a lot more opportunities, but crits, man, crits, RNG, just bad RNG gets bad and affects the game there. Sorry for that loud noise. But you know what? Magearna is still a solid Pokemon. I think he did really well for Nexus, and I think Nexus was still very happy with how he played this thing, and it did really well. So, in terms of this matchup, though, Solgaleo, not really that big of a threat, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I mean, it's still decently threatening this matchup, but I think it's like crazy and like crazy scary. Urshifu Single, on the other hand, he's a little scary. I'm not going to lie. He's kind of more of a little bit of a threat here. Ogerpon is always going to be a threat with Terra, especially getting the speed boost, so it can guarantee be faster than just about everything else. And what's really scary is that Nexus can even bring anything to try to lower that attack stat from that Pokemon, unless he wants to trigger Defiant before the Terra evolution. Not Terra evolution, but the Terra. Heatran is actually kind of low key a problem for Nexus. I think that's a really would be a hard hitting mon for him. DNC, don't think it really comes. Cincino, if it comes, it comes. I just don't really know what he wants to do with it. I would love to see him bring what trio. I would really like to see him bring what trio. I mean, Dell has nothing to lose at this point. He literally has nothing to lose at this point. And Nexus also nothing to lose, but I think Nexus wants to end the season on a win, though. End the season with 4-5. And to try to get decent gift and stuff like that. Because if there were certain people that lost, Nexus actually could have maybe legitimately had a chance to sneak in the seventh or eighth seed. But with that loss to Owen, and with some people winning or losing the eights, depending on the diff as well, ended up just not being the way I wanted to. So I am proud of Nexus though. Nexus really came back this season, and this was probably his best showing in the season. So I'm really happy for Nexus, and I'm looking forward to the next season he does in the league. From Dale's perspective, by the way, Magarino's not that quite threatening, but it's still decently enough threatening that you have to really prepare for it. Lunala is kind of scary. Lunala has no good switchings here. Dual stab got to go stupidly crazy in this matchup. The only scary threat is going to be the Urshifu, but that's not really much. Salamence plus Snealer just overwhelmed this team and just kind of playing chaos, which is really good. Ting Lu, maybe you bring, maybe you don't. It really kind of just depends on the matchup. Uxie, really good defensive viability mon here. I think a Culver Thunderwave Trapper set is really good here. I think it's really good here for that. So just overall, I think this is a really good matchup, and I think I was going to go with the Nexus here because I just think Nexus is going to be able to play around this relatively well, and I think just overall it's going to be really good for the game here for Delm and Nexus. So really looking forward to it. Up next, we have got my man Jason, aka Diate, taking on King of Creativity himself, Amel. And unfortunately, Amel had an insanely rough season. He got very unlucky with kind of the prep he had, and also just kind of getting unlucky with RNG and how the turns played out. But Amel's team is Lugia, Dialga Origin, Iron Bundle, Ursulina Bloodmoon, Como O, Twitera, Gengar, Umbreon, Superior, and Hatterene. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I think Amel will probably agree that this was probably his worst season he's ever played in draft. And I did again, like I said, it came down to just the league is stacked with great players. He got hacked and kind of messed around with RNG in a couple of weeks, and there were just times he just had bad matchups, and that's just how it goes sometimes. He definitely regrets dropping the Palkia for a Lugia. I think he definitely regrets that. You want my honest opinion? I don't think Lugia is that bad of an Uber in this format. I just think you have to be very, very creative with it, and you also have to really, really know what you're doing with it. And I really like the fact that Aim will try to cook with this Pokemon every single week, and it's sad it was. Dialga Origin, I'm not gonna lie, a little bit sad that that's kind of a letdown mon this season. I think this has so much potential to be really good, and just being with like buttons to teams like this, solid mon. Iron Bundle, he kind of is an Iron Bundle, so he did all right, but he's not that great. Blood Moon did well for Amel. That was a really successful transaction. Same with Como O, even though all its kills came in 1 week, but still, a good successful performance from it. Gengar really performed well with Amel. I think Amel got super cool and creative with this Pokemon. Umbreon, I think he realizes that it's trash. Superior, actually kind of low key surprised he didn't try to use Superior a little bit more and try to get a little more mileage out of it. And then Hatterene, which was Hatterene. But yeah, so taking on my boy Jason, aka Diet Tight. He has got the Zamazenta, Giratina Origin, Necrozma with the Terra, Snorlax, Thunderous Incarnate, Azumarill, Memchman, Fortress, Kasuya Quillfish, and Minior. Zamazenta, honestly, kind of bit of an like not that good Uber this season. I definitely think it comes down to some matchups where I think Jason definitely forced himself to bring this Pokemon when he probably shouldn't have brought it. And there were sometimes I think he just did not have really good sets this week and this and that. So really interested to see how that goes. But Giratina Origin, I think, actually performed relatively well. Besides being limited to its item, I definitely think Jason played with it relatively well. The Necrozma really performed well. Probably could have performed better in some weeks, but still really shined in the weeks that he needed to do. Snorlax, a little underperformance value, but still had a lot of good value in the matchups that he did use. Thunderous, we never really got a shot to use. Azu really did some good support this week on this team. Really good mon overall. Mamoswine, we're probably never drafting that in Ubers ever again. Fortress, it sucks. Sylvian Quillfish, he's at least trying. He's at least doing his best. And then Minior, the GOAT. GOAT Minior. He's okay though. In terms of the matchup here between Emil and Jason here, um, again, not going to really talk too much about this match because it doesn't matter. I mean, Jason, if Jason wins this, he secured, depending on the game between him and Emil and the other coaches that we're going to talk about here and almost in a bit here, guys. If Jason loses, he's potentially number two, if not number three seed. And if Jason wins, he's number one, if not potentially based on differential, then number two seed. So he actually would kind of want to pick his opponent based on the matchup here. So it really comes down to that. So again, not really too much to talk about this matchup, but if we're going to talk about some key points, I think Dialga Origin is going to destroy Amel. I also think the Zamazenta can destroy Amel very easily as well. And then from Amel's perspective, I think the Dialga Origin can be really scary. I think the Lugia can actually be low-key terrifying. I think Gengar is really good offensive pressure this week. And then Iron Bundle is really good offensive the pressure as well, and really punishing switch-ins as well. But in terms of the matchup here, I actually think I'm going to go with my boy Amel, actually, as I do think Amel matches up pretty well into a good amount of Jason's threats. And I do think since Amel has nothing to lose, he's going to break out the most broken sets that we have never seen yet, and is going to cook with the absolute heat this week. Up next, we have a game that again doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but does matter to one of the coaches. So we'll kind of talk a little bit more about this. We got my boy D Ray here, the Grand Master, with the Cure White, Deoxys Speed, Annihilate, Alola, Ninetales, Slowking, Cyclosaur, Blaziken, Sandy Shucks, Wacky, and Skuntank. And I'm not gonna lie to you, D-Ray had a great, decent start to the first half of the season, if not the first quarter, and then just got unlucky, made the wrong 50-50s, made the wrong calls, and ended up losing games because of those plays, which, you know what, at least D-Ray recognized it, and that makes him feel better that he really recognized it versus like saying he couldn't do anything or there was nothing else he could have done type of thing. So looking at this team, I think D-Ray's Cure White performed about what I expected to do. I kind of wish it did a little bit more, but it did perform decently well. Deoxys Speed, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I really think this was a bit of a letdown mon for D Ray. I think D Ray should have tried to take advantage of it a little bit more offensively, but I'll be completely honest with you because there was a lot of cool offensive times that I think this Deoxys Speed could have cooked in a lot of ways. Annihilate, I definitely think this has been his best showing with Annihilate. Um, I think with Terra Annihilate is not really that crazy good. I think it's still phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think he's that crazy good with Terra, but he's still good at Pokemon. And I think D-Ray actually is going to be content with how he used him this season. A little Ninetales, really wish that thing was used a lot more, honestly. I think that could have had a lot more value. Slowking, he did some stuff, but for a Mon to come 8 games and only have 1 kill, I know he's a defensive Pokemon. He's not meant to get kills. He should have gotten a few more here and there, but he still had decent value. Cyclosaur, absolutely nothing. And Blaziken, honestly, was a bad transaction pickup. It didn't really do anything for D-Ray. Sandy Shocks, though, really impressive start of the season, and then just couldn't finish that season strong enough on the back end of it. But Sandy Shocks did perform really well for D-Ray. It was honestly an uber menace, man. It was kind of doing work. Flacky, you know what? He's a Flacky. He did some stuff. And the biggest shocker of them all was Skunk Tank. Skunk Tank performed Jordan numbers this season. I'm really impressed with how he used Skunk Tank this season. I think he really showed off the good value of a Pokemon like Skunk Tank in any format, basically, with this 7 months. So, really happy for that pickup from the Skunk Tank from D Ray. He's taking on the GOAT himself, Mr. Kyle A. The only team that matters. And let's break it down for his team. Chin Pao, not gonna lie, would have liked to see some better numbers from Chin Pao this season. But Kyle did cook with some Chin Pao stats. I still remember acrobatics, Choppleberry, Chin Pao against Chimp. That was fire. Excuse me, that was fire. Great Tusk really felt like Great Tusk really fell off this season. I think there was. I would have loved to have seen the Great Tusk do a lot more work this season, so I'm a little disappointed by that. This is the one I want to talk about for a second. Freaking God Ditto, dude. I have never seen anyone cook so well with a Ditto in my entire life. Like, this is insane. I have never seen anyone use Ditto the way Kyle has, to where Ditto has been nothing but a massive problem to so many coaches. And I love that he hasn't been using generic scarves as like the main set you use every single week for this Pokemon. Like, Kyle has really shown off such great strategical plays with this Pokemon. And honestly, we gotta give a hand clap for Kyle. Like, everyone was roasting him for this round three pick, but you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if this Ditto was in the top 10 for top 10 kill leaders. I would not be surprised. Iron Moth really kind of fell off for Kyle. I think there's obviously some more luck of not getting Fire Dance boost, but also maybe finding the niche options to get this mon rolling. Sylveon, decent defensive value. It got out of it. It was pretty decent. Rotom Wash, wow, Rotom underperformed in my opinion. I think it's really underwhelming. No shock about Arboliva. It's an Arboliva. Very surprised by Jirachi. No good stats for Jirachi this season, which kind of surprises me. Spite Ups, he was a Spite Ups. You know what? Shouts to Kyle A for getting trap and streak kills. You know what? That's what's right. And the fact that he was willingly bringing this Pokemon 6 times out of 9 weeks. 6 times out of 9 weeks. It could be maybe seven coming this season. Who knows? But overall, really happy that Kyle showed us some good value out of these trap bench. And now let's talk about his other Uber and Giratina. This Mon was meant to either be tanky setup and win, tank hits, and I felt like it did not perform really that good for Kyle. I don't hate the idea of why he picked it up or what the team has around it. I just think Kyle did not build sets with this thing that I think could have really benefited. But I think overall Kyle has a really good season here. Now, this is a very important week for Kyle as he needs to beat D-Ray. If Kyle loses this match, I think this knocks Kyle out of playoffs or it gives him a chance to at least make the eighth seed at the very worst. If he wins this game, he 100% clinches playoffs because I think he will finish the season with a 6-3 or 5-4 with good differential. I don't remember the top. But he would need people like Keegan to lose, though, to guarantee it 100% as well. So, but essentially, Kyle could make playoffs by winning this game. He literally could. So, really big matchup here. So, in terms of this matchup, I don't know how serious D Ray's going to try, but I think he's still going to go well. I do think D Ray has matchup advantage, though. I think Kyle gets really overwhelmed by this team, and it's going to be really hard for Kyle to move around this. So, in terms of this matchup, I'm going to give it to D Ray. Much respect to my boy Kyle. If he makes it, he makes it. If it's another big thing about Kyle too. Kyle really like ever since he's came back to draft league, he's been having it so rough, man. Like the first time he tried to come back to draft league, he was forced to leave a league because of the fact that his switch problems were becoming an issue, which I mean obviously was not his fault, and he doesn't blame, and he has no hard feelings for the league, obviously, because that's just how it goes with him. And you can never fix internet issues. I felt the exact same way sometimes, so Um, but yeah, Kyle now though, this has been the best Kyle has ever performed. And whether he makes the playoffs or not, this is definitely his best showing, and I'm really proud of him. So really hoping that, when the next league comes around, he gets to rocking and rolling here. But yeah. Now we're gonna talk about the last matchup here, and I wish this matchup meant a lot more to these coaches. I mean, it's still gonna matter to them because they're gonna have some fun. But I wish this was like a really good high stakes battle because we got Viz taking on Shimpack, which I think so many people are so hyped for, and I'm one of them. This should be fun. Viz's team is Deoxys Attack, Shaman Sky, Hisuian Samurott, Archelodon, Palafin, Palapar, Ursaluna, Terra Vikable, and the Mimikyu. Now, obviously, Deoxys Attack, I think, could have performed a tiny bit better, but unfortunately, he missed a lot. So, Shaman Sky, did about what I expected to do. Hammerot performed very well. Definitely a little bit more in Ubers, which I was really happy about. Archelon, about the performance value I was seeing. Palafin, a little surprised not to see a little bit more numbers on it, but still performing just about what I expected. Palipper is a Palipper. Ursaluna with Terra was proven why it's dangerous and scary. So really big shout out to Viz. Vikavolt, really underperformance, and I just think was not really fitting for the format. And Mimikyu, I'm going to say it right now, the numbers really don't do Vimeo justice, but I think this is one of Viz's slept on MVPs in the entire season. Like his own mascot, really. I mean, I don't know if it's his mascot for because it's his because of the team, but it's like the team mascot. I don't know if it's like my favorite Pokemon, but the team mascot was so creatively done and used every single week that Viz really showed what Mimikyu can truly do, and it's not going to be that same mon that does every single thing every time. So, really happy about that. Then we got Chimp's team here, which is Zekrom, Torrentee, Terapagos, Tinkaton, Slanderous, Sinistra, Overquill, Ogerpon, Harpline, Keldeo with the tear on the Torrentee. And let's be honest with you guys, Chimp, he kind of, I mean, he still somewhat cared about the season. He had a good pal and co-builder with him that pretty much both teams, and he would play the games. And obviously, maybe Chimp's not fully into the draft league anymore. Like he probably enjoyed SBL for a little bit, but then when it came to this season, I guess he wasn't fully into it like he used to be, which is totally fine. I think he just wanted to come back to play Joey and have a fun time. And I think overall he enjoyed himself. I just think overall may not even do it again in the future. So, and if he does it, we're happy to have Chimp back in the movie, which is awesome. Chimp, Zekrom, he's been too scared to run fusion bolts. No, Bolt Strike. And if he ran Bolt Strike a lot of weeks, he probably could have won. Terra Torn T. Wow. Really bad numbers. But in his defense, he missed. He missed Hurricane. That's just I got this text message from him because we're buds. I'm just kidding. But he sent this message stating that it was all because of Torrentine missing that Torrentine didn't outperform well. Terapagos, not gonna lie, surprised did not do as much more as I thought it was going to. Tinkaton, a little underperformance, but about what I expected. Landorus actually kind of showed decently well. Sinistra, I really wish Chimp brought this more. I think Sinistra had a lot more good value in matches than I think he even gave him credit for. Overquill, a little bit of an underperformance value in my opinion. Ogerpon, Heartflame, and Keldeo both performing just about what I expected, decently, but nothing too crazy. You have a matchup that doesn't really matter here, but I'm going to pick Viz for this matchup as I think Viz's team just overwhelms really, and like I don't really see anything that's stopping Palafin. If I'm gonna be honest, Palafin plus Deoxys. Like once that Terra Shell's broken, I don't think there's anything that's stopping those two from just winning. So, and I'm sure Chimp's gonna just have his buddy just go with like 6 really cool Pokemon and then have some somewhat cool sets and just go from there. So yeah, now we're going to talk about 2 games here as we need to redirect this discussion about the games. First off is going to be Shuckle King versus Vepsis. Who's going to be on here? Shuckle's team, as you can see, is Zacian, Iron Treads, Overgrown Wellspring, Latios, Darkrai, Deoxys Defense, Petra, Delphox, and the Quilladin. Both with Terra on the Wellspring and the Quilladin. This season, Zacian, I think, performed just about what I expected to. Would have liked to see maybe a couple more numbers there. Iron Treads performing just about kind of expected. Ogerpon Wellspring performing exactly how it needed to be because it is a super strong Pokemon. Latios a little bit underwhelmed, but I think it's again still the same numbers. Same with Darkrai. DOD I think did exactly what he kind of wanted to do. I wish I would have seen a little bit more better action from it. Petcharon is a Petcharon. Delphox for the transaction was a valued great pickup there from Shuckle King. Really good value. And he finally brought Equilidon, but not for the Equilidon credit. It's a bad Pokemon. Where Vapsis' team was the Rayquaza, Iron Valiant, Zumbas the Crown, Mesprit, Klefki, Alamola, Gilmora, Thunder Sea, Syndicon, and the Incineroar. Rayquaza performing about what he expected. Could have seen a lot more better action from it, but it was still a very good Pokemon. Iron Valiant actually not doing as much as I thought it was going to do this season. Same as Amazenta. I thought these would have really done a lot more work for Veps this year, but unfortunately, Veps just ran into situations where he didn't end up the prep didn't work for him, and he ended up losing his Mons to unfortunate circumstances. Mesprit, really underperformance in my opinion. I think it could have done a little more. Klefki, great value. Alamola, good value. Glamora, he tried. Thundy T, a little bit more of a Pokemon I would have thought could have done a little bit more work for Vepsis, but it was still decent mon. Poor Sandaconda knows even a chance. And Incineroar. Incineroar performed way out of expectations. Really good mon this week. Good mon this season, and just overall did really well. Now, the reason why we're going to talk about this game is unfortunately, if you guys did not check out Veps's week 8 game against Stevie Marcus, he actually did somewhat of a version of a postcom. And he unfortunately had to talk about his time with draft. And unfortunately, he has been taking a break and from draft league So he has dropped from the leagues of NBC, and he even forfeited his game in BBL against Shuckle King. Now, some people are going to say that that's not fair that Vepsis did that to some of the other coaches because now some of the other coaches are out. This is Vepsis' decision. This is Vepsis' own personal like state of mind, and he said he's been burned out, doesn't have that motivation to build, and that's exactly how I felt, man, with that burnout. So I think if anyone says anything, you should not because the mental state, especially with balancing the real life stuff that happens out there, it's really hard. So, Baptist, if you happen to watch this, man, definitely wish you the best of luck taking a nice and well deserved break after your return. Hopefully, we get to see you come in before Legends Day, and maybe hopefully we'll get to see you back here real soon. But if not, enjoy your break, brother, and hopefully you have some fun doing some other stuff. I hear you want to do some other content. Really looking forward to it, man. So unfortunately, this battle is not going to be determined. But if you wanted my honest opinion, I was going to most likely probably go ahead and pick Shuckle for this matchup, as I do think Shuckle's team matched up really well into the Vepsis overall. So Shuckle is going to finish the season, I believe, 7-1, and he is now guaranteed the number one or number two seed, depending on the matchup between Jason and Amy. So really impressive season for Shuckle King this season. And now we're going to talk about the last game here. And it's going to be against Seabad, who has got Deoxys, Garchomp, Clefable, Indeedee, Iron Hands, Corviknight, Metagross, Chiyu, Araquanid, and Drifblim. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I really think Seabad did not draft a team that really fit around each other that well, in my honest opinion. And I think it was just around the time that like Chase probably wanted to draft stuff that he didn't want anyone else to draft, and he also drafted stuff that he probably wanted to really use. So, which is a very fair point. Deoxys, I think Deoxys actually performed just about exactly what I kind of expected it to. Really big win against Viz last week, which I think was really huge for Seabad, which I think was pretty massive. And Garchomp, I really think Garchomp could have performed a little bit better, honestly. Clefable beat the fraud allegations. Like, this one proved why it's good in Ubers, thanks to Seabad. Like, this one is now not going to be overestimated next to him in an Ubers League. Indeed, it literally was only drafted just so no one can have Deoxys with this thing. So, Iron Hands with Terra. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I felt like Mr. Iron Hands here. He did not perform the Jordan numbers that is. I generally mean this. I do not think Terra Iron Hands is that good. Now, can it be good? It probably can be. I think in doubles, it's fantastic. But in my honest opinion, I don't think Terra is really needed on Iron Hands. I think if we could have Terra stuff like maybe the Metagross, if there was options to Terra things like maybe Chi and stuff like that. I really would have liked better options like that. Corviknight is a bad skill type. Don't ever draft it. Metagross performed a little bit under the value. You really underperformed for me this season. I think Chi could have definitely done a little bit more better. Araquanid, he's Araquanid. And Drifblim, I'm so sad Drifblim didn't get to do much work, man. I really wish they didn't get to pop off. Because I know Chase has been able to pop off with that, and unfortunately he has suffered the raft of this Drifblim himself. Now, the reason why we're not going to talk about this game particularly is because he is taking on Obo. And before I talk about why, let's go over Obo's team this season. He has got Groudon, Terra Raging Bolt, Screamtail, Rillaboom, Roaring Moon, Skarmory, Volcania, Conkeldurr, and Porygon 2. Now, the transactions are picking up things like the Roaring Moon, his Skarmory, Volcania, and Conkeldurr. Not too crazy good numbers, except maybe the Roaring Moon performing really well. Otherwise, I think he's done subpar and did okay, but definitely made Obo's team a lot better. Groudon performed probably a little bit more than I was expecting it to do this season. Raging Bolt, a little bit of an underperformance, I'm not going to lie. And Screamtail, I just don't like Screamtail, so it's all right. Rillaboom was useless. Let's be honest, Rillaboom's just really bad in this Ubers format. Roy Moon performing very well, about the standard of what I expected. Skarmory, it's trash. I don't like it. Volcanion, it's doing okay. Same with Conk. P2, honestly, underrated Mon for Owen this season. I think it was the underrated MVP in all instances for P2. So now you may ask yourself, then why am I not going to talk about this matchup? Well, if you guys didn't know, I believe I said this last week, but I'm only going to say it this one last time this week. Um, Owen recently had a son. He just had a child with his girlfriend. Massive congratulations again to my bro Obo, and I'm looking forward to being Uncle Thriller for you and your son. But Obo had like no time. He's been too busy going with in and out of the hospital to make sure he can take his son home. spending time with his kid, his girlfriend, the family, so they can get around and be able to enjoy him. And Obo just had like no time whatsoever to really build teams. So I volunteered to Obo, hey, if you need me to build a team for you against Seabat or anything like that, you hit me up. And he actually said, you know what? Go, you do that for me if you can. And I said, sure, why not? So I personally built Obo's team that you're going to see in week 9 versus Seabat. And basically, what I'll just say is I looked at this matchup, and this actually was a lot rougher to Obo than I thought it was. Seabat's team was scary to prep for. Clefable was probably, on my honest opinion, was the biggest threat. This was a monster against me, based on how the team performed. So to kind of summarize it, I felt like Sun was really good in the matchup. So you're gonna probably mostly expect mostly kind of a pseudo Sun core. I think I almost was tempted to go with the Heat Rock Groudon versus Chase, but I ended up not going with that. That's one of the only spoilers you don't see there. But I think I gave Obo a team that really kind of was able to kind of counteract it. We've got some really cool Heat prep that is going to make sure that Owen cannot lose to certain things in this coming week, and I do think this is going to be Owen's time to shine. Now, if Owen wins, he was going to need Veps to lose, but that since Veps forfeited. If Obo wins this one, he should be pretty much locked in for at least somewhere up there, if not at least 6 or 7 seed guaranteed, essentially. So, really hoping my prep pays off for Obo. Definitely go check out Obo when it comes to it, and really hoping we get to see him make the playoffs. And if not, well, then you know what? I have to hold the L as the one that didn't make it have a good team. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. That is going to be the season. This is the end of the regular season, but don't go anywhere because next week we're going to be talking about the playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to go ahead and get the information for those right now. But I do know of at least 2 games that are guaranteed going to be happening. But I'm not going to tell you what those 2 games that I already know because I'm not a spoiler. I think that was good laugh enough. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and please, please, please do not forget to check out every single coach in the description. And do please also still check out Vepsis. He's a really great guy, makes amazing content. So still check him out, even though he did end his season on the last week of this regular season. But overall, thank you guys so much for watching. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.